If they come back and say, okay, we are going to grant you clemency, what would you do? I mean, going forward, what's your role?
I have no idea. Yeah. I think life on death row is a little bit different than life out in general population. So, and I've never been to prison before, so I'd have no idea. Besides, stories of what life is like out there, how to anticipate what my life out there would be like. I'd like to continue with the arts and crafts and stuff that I do back here, but I don't know. I haven't been there, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
What do you want to say to the family and friends of the victim of Winda here? What's your message to them?
My heart goes out to them. I know losing anyone, especially family, is a very traumatizing experience. I recently lost my mom and my sister, and no one in the world deserves to lose a relative or anyone the way that Winda's was taken, and my heart goes out to him. But I didn't do it, and I just like to say that my heart goes out to him.
If you're out in public and say there's an inmate and he says he's innocent, I mean, people at this point just roll their eyes. They say, everybody says they're innocent.
Yeah.
And you make a compelling case. How do you respond to that? I mean,
look at Ohio recently. You have Joe D'Ambrosio and Mike Keenan. Both have walked off the road in the last few years. And it's all because prosecutorial misconduct. With one of them, I think the courts actually had to rule the state was so corrupt in how they were acting and how they performed the trial that the courts barred the state from any future prosecution. Saying, look, we just can never trust you. With the way you guys are acting now, we can never trust you to give these people a fair trial. And, it comes down to, it's just the death penalty is never going to work because the system is about politics. There are innocent people on the road. It's been proven repeatedly, with people with the DNA coming back proving that people, numerous, I think we're at 100 or something now, people that DNA has proven are innocent. And yet I think national statistics say DNA for proving of innocence is only available in less than 10% of all death penalty cases. So if you look at only 10% of all death penalty cases, and yet you still have the staggering number of people proven innocent, and I think there's only about 3,500 death row inmates in America, and yet in the last few years you've had 100. I mean, it's not a staggering amount, but it still should be a highly unacceptable amount. And it's almost never been, almost no one's ever got off the road because of the courts. It's almost always because you have external projects like the Innocence Project, Northwest University, Centurion Ministries. You have all these organizations out there that go and do the investigation and stuff to prove these people are innocent. Had it been up to the state and the prosecutors, every single one of those people would have been executed. I think you have one in Illinois. He was within 2 hours of execution when the Northwestern University students actually found the killer and got him to confess. I believe that's a correlating fact to that case. Had these students not done this, the state would have executed an innocent person. You look at Texas. It's known Texas has executed at least 2 innocent people. I mean, that's been a proven fact. So, I mean, I know everyone says they're innocent, but a few are telling the truth.
Are you ready to die?
I don't think anyone's ready to die. You kind of accept it. I mean, because it's, I kind of say I really have no say. I'm just along for the ride. Technically speaking, this is a fight between the attorneys and the state. I just with whatever happens, I don't really have much to say about it.
If you get to that point, what are you going to say in your last statement?
I have no idea.
Any idea? Have you thought about that at all?
No.
think you point to another guy in all this who apparently had alibis and they couldn't find anything to connect him to this crime. Is that who you think did this? Is that most likely?
That's the problem. He has no alibi. When the police first went and talked to him, his only alibi is from, because the police didn't find Winda's body till my second anonymous 911 call, which was about 10 p.m. So when the cops went and talked to him, they only asked, what were you doing from 10 p.m. on? And from 10 p.m. on, he had gotten off
with somebody, right?
Yeah, he got off and supposedly was drinking with a friend. But they never went back once they found out that, the murder actually occurred much earlier than that. We're talking between supposedly 4 and 5 p.m. They never went back to re-interview him, and find out what his alibi was for that time. Because you have him, I believe just weeks before the murder, trying to kick in her front door, saying, part of my language, but I believe he's right, I'm going to kill you, bitch, I'm going to cut your throat, I'm going to cut you up. And I think he said he's going to cut her head off or something like that. And then 2 weeks later, she's, killed in the exact same manner that he said it. Mm-hmm. Everybody in the neighborhood. I've read multiple newspaper accounts and interviews. Every single person in the neighborhood, when they heard Winda was murdered, instantly thought of him. Everybody told the police, if she's dead, he did it. It's highly reported and documented. They had a violent, I believe that he smoked crack and was a very violent individual.
You didn't do drugs, did you?
Yeah, I dabbled. I was more of a drinker, but I smoked a lot of weed.
Okay.
And the one thing I point out to with that is when I left her apartment, something just sort of clicked in my mind when I saw her keys on top of the TV was I didn't want anyone to walk in on her as I did. So I locked her door. It is a deadbolt lock. And yet when the police entered her apartment, the door was unlocked.
Didn't they find her keys in a dumpster?
Yeah, because that's where I'd gone and thrown them. And I told them in my statement, when I finally came forth the following day, that when I left her apartment, I said, my first instinct was get everything that shows you've been here and get out. And I grabbed the beer bottles that we were drinking. And, you watch the crime shows, so I saw the cigarette butts there, so I grabbed them and threw them in a bag. And her keys, and as I was running, I crossed the street and threw them in a dumpster. And then went home. And that's where they found them.
Did they find blood on any of those things?
No. And, but yet when they found her body, just a couple hours later, her door was open. And this other gentleman, for, I believe, a long period of time, was building maintenance. So he had access to all the keys in the apartment, for every apartment. But I also would like to point out, they've never, in reference to the T-shirt, clearly whoever, murdered her would have been covered in blood. But yet they found nothing else of mine with any blood.
It seems like with that much blood, something would link one of you to it.
Yeah.
But they say they didn't find anything.
But they didn't. They refused to do any testing. I mean, you have multiple reports from multiple forensic experts. Because on her body, I believe 3 hairs were found on top of her body. So they're all described as long, dark hair. The state, I know why the state doesn't want to do the testing, because, photographs of the time will show my hair. I just had a haircut. My hair was probably less than about a 1/4 inch, maybe less than a 1/2 inch in length. So anything referred to as long, dark hair clearly is not mine. So they, it's obvious why they don't want to test the hair.
What about the OJ stuff?
I point out too, how does that make sense? I mean, if we were sitting there watching a news report on the O.J. Simpson case, why would anybody make that statement? I mean, if there was DNA found under her fingernails or something like that, I might see somebody making a type of comment like that. But there's nothing within the O.J. Simpson case that would bring about such a comment. I mean, to say, well, I would know how to get away with it. You cut her hands off. It's like, well, but that has nothing whatsoever to do with the O.J. Simpson case.
What's it? Hacksaw, don't leave home without it, or something?
Yeah. That's,
have you ever said anything like that before?
No.
But they found a hacksaw in the place, right?
And they tested it. There was no blood on it. So I borrowed the hacksaw from my brother because there was an old apartment building and they had originally steam radiators. Mm-hmm. And they had one of the pipes sticking about, I can't do it, about 6 inches. And it was in the corner of the apartment and I couldn't put any furniture or anything there because the pipe was sticking up out of the floor. So I borrowed the hacksaw from my brother to cut it off. But they tested it and that's one of, as far as I know, one of the things they ran and tested real quickly. And there was there was no blood on it.